The first sign something was wrong came during our annual Memorial Day barbecue. I was in the kitchen, mixing mojitos and watching through the window as my husband Clark taught our nephew how to throw a football. My sister Bianca stood too close to them, laughing too hard at everything Clark said. I should have known then. My name is Esme, and I used to believe I had the perfect suburban life. The four-bedroom house with the wraparound porch, the husband who coached Little League on weekends, and the kind of sister who'd drop by unannounced with coffee and gossip. What a joke that turned out to be. Earth to Esme, Reagan's voice snapped me back to reality. My best friend stood beside me, eyebrows raised. You've been stirring that drink for 5 minutes straight. Sorry, I gestured vaguely toward the window. Clark and Bianca were standing under the oak tree now, their heads bent close together. Too close. They're probably just talking about the party next weekend, Reagan said, but her voice held a note of concern. I forced a smile. You're right. Hey, can you take these drinks out? I need to check on the ribs. Later that evening, as everyone sprawled across our deck furniture in various states of food coma, I noticed Clark checking his phone, again and again. That small secret smile playing on his lips, the one I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Who's got you so entertained? I asked, keeping my voice light. He locked the screen instantly. Just work stuff, babe. You know how it is. On Memorial Day, the housing market never sleeps. He kissed my cheek, but it felt mechanical, rehearsed. My mother, Eliana, chose that moment to chime in. Clark's such a dedicated realtor. Bianca, you should take notes. That's the kind of work ethic that builds success. Bianca, who'd been unusually quiet, just smiled and sipped her wine. There was something smug about it, something that made my stomach twist. I'm going to grab more ice, I announced, needing a moment alone. In the kitchen, I gripped the counter and took deep breaths. I was being paranoid, seeing things that weren't there. The house had grown quiet by midnight. Most guests had left, except Bianca, who'd had too many margaritas to drive. I set her up in the guest room, trying to ignore how her designer perfume, the one Clark had once commented on appreciatively, filled the space. I was almost asleep when I heard it. Bianca's giggle, muffled but distinct, floating down the hallway. She was on the phone, her voice a whispered purr. I know, babe. I miss you too. No, she has no idea. My blood turned to ice. I slid out of bed, careful not to wake Clark. As I crept closer to the guest room, Bianca's voice became clearer. The barbecue was torture. Watching you with her, I almost couldn't handle it. I stood frozen outside her door, my hand pressed against my mouth to keep from making a sound. Soon, she whispered. We'll tell her soon. I promise. I didn't sleep that night. I lay beside Clark, studying his profile in the darkness, wondering when my husband had become a stranger, wondering when my sister had become my enemy. The next morning, I acted normal. I made coffee, served Bianca hangover cure pancakes, kissed Clark goodbye as he left for work. I smiled and nodded and played my part perfectly. But something had shifted. The careful facade of our perfect life had cracked, letting ugly truth seep through. Thanks for everything, Bianca said as she gathered her things. Best barbecue ever. She hugged me tight, and I hugged her back, wondering if she could feel how stiff I'd become. What are sisters for? I replied, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. After she left, I sat at my kitchen island, staring at the family photos on our fridge. Clark and me on our honeymoon. Bianca and me at her college graduation. All those frozen moments of happiness that now felt like elaborate lies. My phone buzzed. A text from Reagan. You okay? You seemed off yesterday. I started to type, I'm fine, but stopped. Instead, I wrote, can you meet for coffee? There's something I need to talk about. Because that's the thing about perfect suburban lives. They're often built on foundations of sand. And mine was starting to sink. I just didn't know yet how deep the betrayal went, or how hard I'd have to fight to keep from drowning in it. 3 months of suspicion finally broke me. I started digging through Clark's things while he was at the gym. something I'd sworn I'd never do. But desperate times call for desperate measures, right? The burner phone was buried at the bottom of his gym bag, wrapped in a sweaty towel. My hands trembled as I turned it on. No password protection. Amateur move, Clark. The photos loaded first. My sister Bianca posed on a familiar balcony at the Ocean View Resort, where Clark and I had spent our 5th anniversary last year. Her in his t-shirt, them kissing by the pool. My stomach heaved. The texts were worse. Miss you already, baby. Can't wait to make this official. Esme's clueless. It's almost too easy. My phone rang, making me jump. Bianca's name flashed on the screen. I answered before I could think better of it. Hey sis, she chirped, sounding disgustingly cheerful. Got a minute? I'm looking at some interesting photos right now, I said, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. You look great in Clark's blue button-down. Silence, then a laugh that chilled me to the bone. Well, I guess this makes things easier, she said. Now that it's official, you should know we're not paying the mortgage anymore. What? Clark's moving in with me today. He's on his way to pack his things right now. Her voice dripped with false sympathy. Don't worry, we'll let you keep the furniture. I hung up and immediately called Reagan. Get over here, now. 20 minutes later, Reagan found me sitting on the kitchen floor, surrounded by scattered papers and empty drawers. He cleaned out our joint account, I said numbly. Every penny. That son of a bitch. Reagan pulled me to my feet. We're calling Isaiah. The guy from my office. Why? Because he's the best real estate attorney in the city. And you need legal help before those two vultures pick you clean. Clark arrived while Reagan was making calls. He walked in like he owned the place, which technically, he partly did. Esme, don't make this harder than it needs to be, he said, hauling out a suitcase. Harder, I laughed, and it sounded unhinged, even to my ears. Like sleeping with my sister wasn't hard enough. He had the audacity to look annoyed. These things happen. People grow apart. People grow apart? That's your explanation. Look, Bianca and I, we just connected. It wasn't planned. Those resort photos suggest otherwise. He froze. You went through my things? Damn right I did. Just like you went through our bank account. I earned that money. While I paid the mortgage, I was screaming now, and I didn't care. Every month, I paid it while you built your client base. Remember? Reagan stepped between us. Clark, you need to leave, now. He grabbed his bags, pausing at the door. The house is still in both our names, Esme. Don't forget that. After he left, Reagan held me while I shook. Not with tears, with rage. I can't believe my own sister, I whispered. My own blood. Blood's overrated, Reagan said firmly. Now listen to me. Isaiah's coming over tomorrow morning. He says there might be something in your mortgage agreement we can use. Use for what? Revenge. Reagan's smile was fierce. The legal kind. That night, I couldn't sleep in our bed. I dragged blankets to the couch and stared at the ceiling, remembering all the times Clark had worked late, all the family events where Bianca had shown up, looking extra polished. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Bianca told me everything. You need to be understanding about this. They're in love. I blocked her number. Another text came through, this time from Bianca. The movers are coming next week for Clark's things. Try not to be home. It'll be easier that way. I got up and walked to our home office. Clark had left in such a hurry, he'd forgotten to take the property deed. I pulled it out, studying the fine print by lamplight. Both our names were there, black and white. He'd insisted on being added to the deed when we refinanced last year. I'd thought it was about commitment. Turns out it was about control. But Clark had forgotten something crucial. I was the one who worked in real estate law. I knew exactly how property rights worked. I traced our names on the deed with my finger, remembering Isaiah's reputation for finding legal loopholes. You shouldn't have left your name on what I now own, I whispered to the empty house, because I'm about to make you regret it. The mortgage agreement is a gold mine, Isaiah said, spreading documents across his mahogany desk. Clark really should have read the fine print. I leaned forward. What do you mean? You've been making the payments solo for 2 years, right? And you're the primary on the mortgage, even though you're both on the deed. Isaiah's smile was sharp. That gives us leverage. For what? To force a sale. Without his consent. My heart skipped. Is that legal? Completely. Especially since he's abandoned the property and defaulted on his portion of payments. Isaiah tapped the papers. But here's the beautiful part. We don't have to tell him until it's done. I sat back, mind racing. What about Bianca? She's been bragging about moving into the house. Let her brag. Isaiah's eyes glinted. The more evidence we have of their intentions, the stronger our case. That afternoon, I stopped paying the mortgage. Every penny went into a separate account. One Clark couldn't touch. The bank notices would start arriving soon. But that was part of the plan. My mother called while I was leaving Isaiah's office. Esme, this behavior has to stop, she scolded. Bianca's heartbroken that you're being so difficult. I laughed. Actually laughed. Heartbroken, that's rich. She's your sister. Family forgives. Like you forgave Dad when he cheated. Silence crackled over the line. That was different, she finally said. No, Mom, it wasn't. But at least he didn't sleep with your sister. I hung up, hands shaking. My mother had always favored Bianca, the prettier one, the charming one. Even now she was choosing her over me. The next day, Bianca showed up unannounced. She waltzed in like she owned the place. Designer purse, swinging. Just checking the measurements for our new curtains, she announced, smirking. Clark loves floor-to-ceiling drapes. I kept typing on my laptop, not looking up. Don't worry about decorating what isn't yours. She laughed. The house is half Clark's, which means it's partly mine now. Funny how math works in your world. I finally met her eyes. Tell me, does Mom know you've been sleeping with him since last Christmas? The color drained from her face. How did you— The resort photos were dated December 26th. I smiled sweetly. Nice bikini, by the way. Was that another gift from my husband? She recovered quickly, tossing her hair. Ex-husband soon. And yes, actually, he has excellent taste. In women? Debatable. I turned back to my laptop. You can see yourself out. That evening, a certified letter arrived. Bank notice, right on schedule. I added it to my growing file of evidence. Reagan came over with wine and takeout. Isaiah called. He says everything's proceeding perfectly. I nodded, pushing noodles around my plate. I found old photos today, from my wedding. Don't torture yourself. Bianca was my maid of honor. I laughed bitterly. She was sleeping with him before our first anniversary. Reagan grabbed my hand. Listen to me. You're not the villain here. You're not even the victim anymore. You're the phoenix, rising from their trash fire. Phoenix, I snorted. I feel more like a snake, plotting in the grass. Then be the snake. Be whatever you need to be to survive this. She topped off my wine. Just don't let them win. Later that night, I scrolled through my phone, deleting old photos. Clark and me at the beach, Bianca and me at Christmas, family dinners, birthday parties, countless moments that meant nothing now. A text from Clark lit up my screen. The bank called about missed payments. What game are you playing? I typed back, don't worry about what isn't yours anymore. His response was immediate. The house is still half mine. For now, I whispered to my empty living room. I walked to the window, staring at the house I'd loved so much, the garden I'd planted, the porch where we'd hosted so many gatherings. They thought they were taking it from me, but they had no idea what was coming. My phone buzzed again. A text from Isaiah. Bank notice received. Phase 1 complete. Ready to proceed with sale listing. I smiled, remembering Bianca's smug face as she measured for curtains she'd never hang. List it, I typed back. And Isaiah, make it quiet. I don't want them knowing until it's too late. The pieces were falling into place. Clark and Bianca thought they were writing the ending to this story, but they'd forgotten something crucial. I was the one holding the pen, and I was just getting started. The property's worth more than you're asking, Khalil said. Studying the listing papers in Isaiah's office. Why the rush to sell? I exchanged glances with Isaiah. Let's just say I'm motivated. And discreet, Isaiah added meaningfully. Which is why we called you specifically. Khalil nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. He owned half the luxury rentals downtown. He knew how to keep deals quiet. I can close in 2 weeks, he said. Cash offer. My heart raced. That fast? I like properties with interesting situations. He smiled. Plus, the location's perfect for my portfolio. After signing the preliminary paperwork, Khalil walked me to my car. You know, there's a penthouse opening up in one of my buildings. Great views, private elevator. Are you trying to solve my housing crisis? Maybe I just hate seeing talent wasted in the suburbs. He handed me his card. Think about it. That afternoon, I treated myself to a complete makeover. New hair, new clothes, new attitude. The stylist worked magic, transforming my mom next door look into something sleeker, sharper. Someone's getting their groove back, Reagan said when she picked me up. You look dangerous. Good. I checked my reflection, because I feel dangerous. We drove past my house, soon to be my ex-house, and saw cars lined up along the street. Music pulsed from inside. You've got to be kidding me, Reagan muttered. They're having a party. A housewarming, I corrected, remembering Bianca's Instagram post. They're celebrating their new life together. In your house? Not for long. My phone buzzed. A text from Bianca. Hope you figured out what to do now that you're homeless. LOL. I showed Reagan the message. Her knuckles went white on the steering wheel. Please tell me we're going to destroy them. Better. I smiled. We're going to let them destroy themselves. We parked around the corner and watched guests arrive. Clark played perfect host, grilling on my patio. Bianca flitted around in a dress that probably cost more than the mortgage payment they'd skipped. They really think they've won, Reagan said softly. They think I'm broken. I touched my new hair, sleek and sophisticated. They think I'm hiding somewhere, crying over old photos. Little do they know. My phone rang. Isaiah. The offer's official. Khalil's team did their inspection today. We're ready to move forward. Perfect timing. I watched another group of guests arrive. They're literally having a housewarming party right now. Enjoy it, Isaiah chuckled. It's their last one in that house. Later that night, I met Khalil at his office to sign more papers. The penthouse he'd mentioned was on the 30th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a private terrace. It's available immediately, he said, showing me around. And the views are incredible. I walked to the window, looking out over the city lights. Behind me, Khalil's reflection watched with interest. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because I recognize a good investment when I see one. He stepped closer, both in property and in people. My phone interrupted whatever might have happened next. A text from Clark. The mortgage company called again. Fix this now. I showed Khalil the message. He raised an eyebrow. He has no idea, does he? None. I turned back to the view. How soon can I move in? The penthouse. Tomorrow if you want. I thought about my house, full of strangers celebrating my husband's affair with my sister. Thought about the closing documents waiting for signatures, the quiet revenge building behind the scenes. Tomorrow's perfect. That night, I packed essentials into 2 suitcases. Family photos went into the trash, wedding album into the shredder. I left my rings on the kitchen counter with a note. Consider this my housewarming gift. Reagan helped me load my car in the dark. You're really doing this. Watch me. As we drove away, I caught one last glimpse of my old house in the rearview mirror. Music still played. Shadows still danced behind curtains Bianca would never get to replace. My phone lit up with another text from her. Party's amazing. Too bad you weren't invited. But don't worry, we'll take good care of your house. I showed Reagan, who snorted. Should we tell them? Not yet. I smiled at the city skyline ahead, where my new home waited. Let them enjoy their party. The eviction notice will be party favor enough. Because that's the thing about revenge. It's sweetest when served cold, calculated, and completely by surprise. And mine? Mine was just about ready to be served. Sign here and here. Isaiah pointed to the final closing documents. And initial these pages. My hand was steady as I signed away the house I'd once thought would be my forever home. Khalil sat across the conference table, his own pen moving efficiently across the papers. Congratulations, the closing attorney said. The sale is final. I expected to feel something, sadness, maybe regret. Instead, I felt lighter, powerful. One last detail, Isaiah said, pulling out another document. The prenup clause you mentioned. It's active. What prenup clause? Khalil asked, curious. I smiled. The one that says if Clark commits adultery, he forfeits his right to any property acquired during the marriage. The one he never read, Isaiah added with a smirk. Too busy building his empire to bother with legal details. My phone buzzed, Clark calling. I let it go to voicemail. How long until they know? I asked. Eviction notice goes out tomorrow. Isaiah gathered the papers. They'll have 30 days to vacate. Walking out of the attorney's office, Khalil touched my elbow. Dinner tonight? To celebrate? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with Bianca's face. Take it, Khalil said. I'll text you the restaurant details. I answered on the final ring. Yes? The bank keeps calling Clark. Bianca snapped. Fix whatever mess you've made. Oh, that reminds me. How are those new curtains working out? What? The floor-to-ceiling ones. For my house. I paused. Sorry, I mean the house you're being evicted from. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? Check your mail tomorrow. Everything's explained in the legal documents. Legal. Esme, what did you do? What you taught me to do, sis. Take what I want. I hung up as Reagan pulled up in her car. Ready for phase 2. Beyond ready. We drove to my new penthouse, where moving crews were unloading the few things I'd kept. 30 floors up, the city spread out like a glittering promise. Remember when we were kids? I asked Reagan as we unpacked. How Bianca would always take my toys, and Mom would say, be the bigger person, let her have them. Yeah? I'm done being the bigger person. My phone exploded with texts. Clark. What the hell is going on with the house? Bianca, you can't do this to us. Mom, call me immediately. I blocked them all. Ms. Esme. The building concierge appeared at my door. Mr. Khalil asked me to deliver this. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a key card and a note. For your private elevator. Welcome home. K. Reagan whistled. Someone's interested. Someone's kind, I corrected, but felt myself blush. Someone's successful, gorgeous, and definitely not sleeping with your sister. Before I could respond, my laptop pinged with an email from Isaiah. Eviction notices processed, being delivered first thing tomorrow. Want to watch the security footage remotely? I showed Reagan, who cackled. Oh, we're definitely watching that. With wine, I agreed. That evening, dressed in a new black dress that made me feel invincible, I met Khalil at an upscale restaurant downtown. To new beginnings, he toasted, and clean endings. You know, he said, studying me over his glass, most people would have crumbled. I almost did. I thought back to that first night, finding the burner phone. But then I got angry. Anger can be productive when channeled correctly. My phone lit up with an unknown number. Clark using someone else's phone. I declined the call. They'll keep trying, Khalil observed. Let them. I'm done being their doormat. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. Good. Because I don't date doormats. The warmth in his eyes made me catch my breath. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Isaiah this time. The eviction papers were just delivered via courier. Special evening delivery, as requested. I smiled, imagining Clark and Bianca's faces as they read the documents. Imagining them realizing that their perfect little love nest was built on quicksand. Everything okay? Khalil asked. Perfect. I squeezed his hand. Everything's perfect. Because that's the thing about karma. Sometimes you have to help it along. Sometimes you have to be your own justice, your own revenge, your own happy ending. And looking at Khalil across the table, at my new life spreading out before me like the city lights below my penthouse, I knew this wasn't just revenge, this was resurrection. The security footage from my old house showed exactly what I expected. Clark pacing the driveway, phone pressed to his ear, while Bianca sat on the porch steps with her head in her hands. The eviction notice lay crumpled at her feet. "Your lawyers can't find any loopholes," Isaiah said over speakerphone. "The sale is ironclad." Reagan poured more champagne. "Turn up the volume. I want to hear them implode." Through the security camera's audio, we heard their argument escalate. "You said you handled the mortgage," Clark shouted. "Me?" Bianca's voice cracked. "You're the one who said we didn't need to pay it, because you said your savings would cover it. I spent my savings on the resort trips you wanted." I sipped my champagne, watching them tear each other apart on my laptop screen. "Should I go over there? Are you kidding?" Reagan stared at me. "Why?" "To make sure they understand the situation clearly." 20 minutes later, I pulled up to my old house in Khalil's borrowed Mercedes. The arguing had moved inside, but I could still hear them through the open windows. "This is your fault," Bianca screamed. "You promised we'd be happy here." I clicked across the driveway in my new gold heels, the sound making them both freeze. "Having a rough evening?" I asked, stepping through the front door. Clark advanced on me. "What the hell did you do?" "I sold my house." I held up a hand when he tried to interrupt. "My house, Clark. The one I paid for, while you were busy sleeping with my sister. You can't just—" "Actually, I can, and did." I pulled out copies of the sale documents. "You might want to read these. I know how much you hate reading legal papers, but make an effort this time." Bianca snatched the papers. "This is impossible. The house was in both your names. Remember that prenup you thought was so old-fashioned, Clark? The one you signed without reading?" I smiled. "Check Clause 23B. Adultery forfeits all property rights." The color drained from his face. "You planned this." "No, you planned this. I just played better." "I'll fight it," he threatened. "My lawyer already tried." "The sale's final. Khalil's a very motivated buyer." "Who's Khalil?" Bianca demanded. "My new landlord, and possibly more." I checked my watch. "You have 30 days to vacate." I'd start packing. Clark grabbed my arm. "Esme, please. We can talk about this." I jerked away. "Like you talked to me about sleeping with my sister, or about emptying our bank account. That was different." "You're right. That was betrayal." "This?" I gestured around the house. "This is justice." Bianca started crying. Real tears this time. "Where are we supposed to go?" "Not my problem." I headed for the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Bianca, those curtains you ordered, make sure to cancel them. The new owner prefers blinds." Outside, Reagan waited in her car, filming everything on her phone. "That was beautiful." "Send that to Isaiah," I said, sliding into the passenger seat. More evidence of their reaction to legal documents. My phone buzzed, Khalil calling. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected." "Dinner later?" "Already made reservations." His voice softened. "You okay?" "Better than okay." I watched my old house shrink in the rearview mirror. "I'm free." Back at my penthouse, Reagan helped me block more numbers. Flying monkeys sent by my mother to guilt-trip me. "Your mom just posted on Facebook," Reagan said, scrolling. "Praying for my daughters to find peace and reconciliation." "Right, because prayer fixed everything when Dad cheated." "Speaking of your dad," Reagan hesitated. "He called me. He wants to meet." I hadn't spoken to my father in years, not since he started his new family. "He says he's proud of you," Reagan continued, "for not letting them win like he let your mom win." Before I could respond, my phone lit up with an unknown number. This time, I answered. "You've ruined everything," Bianca sobbed. "Clark's leaving. He says it's my fault about the house. Karma's funny that way. He was supposed to love me more than he loved you." And I was supposed to be able to trust my sister. I kept my voice cold. Guess we both learned something. After hanging up, I walked to my terrace. 30 floors below, the city hummed with life. My old house, with its perfect lawn and broken promises, felt like a distant memory. Reagan joined me. You really did it. No, I corrected. They did it. I just made sure they paid for it. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It shows you exactly who people are. And once you see them clearly, you can't unsee it. But you can make damn sure they see you too. 3 weeks into the eviction period, Clark showed up at my office. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing the same wrinkled shirt I'd seen him in at the house. 5 minutes, he begged. Please. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Timer's running. I left Bianca, he blurted. She was never, it wasn't. Spare me the excuses. I made a mistake, he leaned forward. A huge mistake, but this house thing, it's too far. Too far? I laughed. Like sleeping with my sister wasn't too far. Like draining our accounts wasn't too far. I'll pay it back, all of it. His eyes were desperate. Just stop the eviction. The house is sold, Clark. It's done. Then let me make it up to you another way. He reached for my hand. I pulled back. We could try again. Start fresh. The sad part? 6 months ago I might have considered it. Might have been desperate enough for his love to forgive the unforgivable. Your 5 minutes are up. Esme. Security will escort you out if necessary. He stood, shoulders slumping. You've changed. Yes, I agreed. That's what happens when you realize your whole life was a lie. After he left, I called Khalil. Want to watch some entertainment? Always. What kind? The moving truck kind. An hour later, we sat in his car, across from my old house, watching the movers haul out furniture. Clark supervised, while Bianca sat in her BMW, mascara streaked down her face. They're fighting over the couch, Khalil noted. The one I picked out and paid for? I shook my head. Let them have it. It's seen too much betrayal anyway. My phone buzzed. Reagan sending updates from her reconnaissance mission at my mother's house. Bianca's moving back home, she texted. Your mom's redecorating the guest room for her poor heartbroken baby. Heartbroken? Khalil read over my shoulder. Wasn't she just with Clark this morning? Apparently, he dumped her after the eviction notice, said she'd ruined everything. Karma's not just a bitch, Khalil mused. She's an architect. We watched as the movers struggled with Clark's precious big-screen TV. It slipped, crashing onto the driveway. Ouch. Khalil winced. That's unfortunate. That's karma. My phone lit up again. Isaiah this time. Final inspection scheduled for tomorrow. Keys transfer next week. I showed Khalil the message. Want to help me say goodbye to the house? Now? I nodded toward the driveway, where the last moving truck was pulling away. Clark and Bianca had both left, separately, leaving only broken furniture and shattered dreams behind. We walked through the empty house, our footsteps echoing. Everything looked smaller somehow, less significant. Here's where I found the burner phone, I said, pointing to the bedroom. And here's where I heard Bianca on the phone that night, plotting with my husband. Khalil took my hand. And here's where you decided to fight back. I was so scared at first, I admitted. Scared of being alone, of starting over. And now? I turned to face him. Now I'm not scared of anything. He kissed me then, in the empty house that had seen my worst moments. But this wasn't a worst moment. This was a beginning. My phone interrupted us. A text from Bianca. I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I typed back, no, you did that. I just refuse to be your victim. Back at my penthouse later, Reagan brought takeout and news. Your mom's telling everyone you had a mental breakdown, she said, around a mouthful of noodles. That's why you're acting out. Of course she is. I walked to my terrace, looking down at the city. Anything to avoid admitting her precious Bianca isn't perfect. Speaking of perfect, Reagan wiggled her eyebrows. You and Khalil looked cozy today. He gets it, I said simply. He understands what it's like to rebuild. From the ashes of your enemies? From the ashes of who I used to be. Because that's the thing about betrayal. It either breaks you or forges you into something stronger. And I'd chosen to be stronger. My phone buzzed one last time. Clark again. I never meant to hurt you. I deleted the message without responding. From my terrace, I could see the moving truck's path through the city, carrying away the last pieces of my old life. Good riddance, I whispered to the night sky. Behind me, the penthouse glowed warm and welcoming. Ahead of me stretched a future I'd built from the wreckage they'd left behind. And for the first time in months, I felt completely, utterly at peace. The final inspection of my old house felt like closing a book. Empty rooms echoed with memories I no longer wanted to keep. Everything's in order, the inspector said, handing me his report. Keys can transfer tomorrow. Isaiah nodded, checking his paperwork. Perfect timing. The new buyers are ready. Buyers? I turned to Khalil. I thought you were keeping it. He smiled. Change of plans. Found a young family who'll love it more than I would. Walking through one last time, I collected the few remaining items. A forgotten photo album, some mail, the spare key I'd always kept under the flower pot. My phone buzzed. Reagan, your dad's here, at my place. What? He wants to talk, for real this time. I looked at Khalil, who squeezed my hand. Go. I'll handle the paperwork. At Reagan's apartment, my father stood when I walked in. He'd aged since I'd last seen him, gray threading through his dark hair. You look strong, he said simply. I am strong. I know. He gestured to the couch. Can we talk? I sat, keeping distance between us. About what? About how proud I am. His voice cracked. For doing what I couldn't. Standing up for yourself. You left. I ran, he corrected. There's a difference. You fought back. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a text from Bianca. Mom's in the hospital, anxiety attack. This is all your fault. I showed my father the message. He shook his head. Your mother always did love her drama more than her daughters. She'll recover, I said. Once she realizes her guilt trips don't work anymore. I should have protected you both better. He met my eyes. From her favoritism, from everything. I protected myself. Yes. He smiled sadly. You did. My phone buzzed again. Khalil this time. Keys transferred. House is officially sold. Dinner to celebrate? I looked at my father. Want to meet someone important? His eyes lit up. Lead the way. At dinner, Khalil and my father talked business, while Reagan shared videos of Clark and Bianca's moving day drama. They're living separately now, Reagan reported. Clark's sleeping on his brother's couch, and Bianca's turning the guest room into a healing space, I added, making air quotes. Healing from what? My father asked. Her own choices. According to Mom, healing from my cruel and unusual punishment. Cruel would have been letting them keep the house, Khalil said. This was just efficient. My phone lit up with an unknown number, Clark's brother. He wants to arrange a meeting, I read aloud. Says Clark's truly sorry and needs closure. Delete, Reagan, Khalil, and my father said in unison. I did better than delete. I blocked the number. You know what the best revenge is? My father asked, raising his glass. Living well. No, I corrected. Thinking of Clark's face when he read the eviction notice, of Bianca's tears when her perfect plan crumbled. The best revenge is making them live with their choices. Later that night, Khalil walked me to my private elevator. Ready for tomorrow? The charity auction. I smiled. Already packed. He'd invited me to co-host his company's annual fundraiser, my first public event since the divorce, since the revenge, since everything. Bianca usually hosts these kinds of events, I mused. She was always the social butterfly. And now she's hosting pity parties at Mom's house. I laughed. Karma really is an architect. Khalil pulled me close. You're better than revenge now. Your success. My phone buzzed one final time. Isaiah sending the last document. Proof of the house sale. The new family's names on the deed. "It's really over," I whispered. "No," Khalil said softly, "it's really beginning." Because that's the thing about endings. They're just beginnings in disguise. My marriage ended, but my strength began. My trust in family ended, but my trust in myself began. Looking out over the city from my penthouse terrace, I thought about Clark and Bianca, scattered to separate corners of their broken fantasy. Thought about my mother, finally facing consequences she couldn't manipulate. Thought about my father, finding his courage through mine. They tried to write me out of my own story, so I sold the script, bought the sequel, and made myself the lead. And this time I was writing my own ending. The city lights sparkled below, 1,000 possibilities glowing in the dark. Behind me, my phone stayed silent. No more drama, no more lies, no more letting others define my worth. I'd found something better than revenge. I'd found myself.